welcome to this interview. We're very happy to have Ana Carolina Guimaraes and Bruna Ferreira with us today, and both of them are ACCA prize winners, and they are both from Minas, from Belo Horizonte, and are joining us from Ireland. So I'm Susan Hawkins. I'm founder of SHP Financial Training. I'm based in Sao Paulo in Ipiranga. And I founded SHP Financial Training in 2014. We are the only gold learning partner in the whole of Latin America, ACCA gold learning partner. So we're in a very privileged position, and we've got quite a key strategic role in the expansion of ACCA in this region. And we want to kind of inspire our students in Brazil, students and employers who don't yet know so much about ACCA, to look into it a bit more, into the value of the qualification. And we're hoping that what we hear from Ana, Carolina and Bruna today will help with that. My background is actually in economics. So I'm an economics graduate from Oxford University. I got a training contract after finishing my degree at EY, or Ernst & Young, in London, and I studied chartered accountancy with them, and I went through ICAS, Institute of Chartered Accountants of Scotland. Shortly after qualifying, my salary doubled, which was great, part of the agreement in the training contract, and I got lots of calls from recruitment consultants, and I moved, shortly afterwards, I moved to the Bank of England into an internal audit role. I got an increase in my salary again, which was also very nice and showed the value of the qualification. And I then studied for the CFA exams, Chartered Financial Analyst exams, because I wanted to know more about the financial markets. And then after that, I decided it was time for a new challenge, and I moved to Sao Paulo as a manager in the business valuation team at EY again. Okay, so I went back to EY and I got involved in training there. We had a team of about 100 people, and I became responsible for the training of the team, as well as doing my normal projects, doing the valuation work. And I did a couple of international business valuation exams also while working there. And then after a couple of years, I decided to set up SHP Financial Training. I think you can probably tell from my background, I've always enjoyed training. I don't particularly like taking exams, but I've taken a lot of exams. And I think they're very important. I like training. I see the value of training that's focused specifically on professional qualifications. And there's often a bit of confusion about what an academic qualification is, what a professional qualification is, particularly in Brazil. Professional qualifications are not so well known here in Brazil. And we are focused on a niche area, providing those internationally recognized professional qualifications, which are a bit different to academic qualifications because they are very work focused. They're focused on the technical and professional skills that you need from work, and they also combine a requirement of work experience. So 3 years work experience is required for the ACCA qualification. And so I'm going to hand over now to Christopher to introduce himself. And talk a little bit about how he came to be in Brazil and his background.
Gosh. Well, my name is Christopher Johnson. I, like Susan, am a chartered accountant. She's a Scottish chartered accountant. I'm an English chartered accountant, England and Wales. I trained with BDO Binder Hamlin in London many years ago. I never really wanted to be an auditor. But I wanted to become a chartered accountant. My father was a chartered accountant. He didn't want to become a chartered accountant either. He wanted to do something else, but his father told him to do it. And my son is now kind of following in our footsteps. So pretty much 3 generations of chartered accountants. After I qualified, I worked outside of audit in London for a while, notably with Sky Television, before coming to Brazil. I came to Brazil because I was married to a Brazilian already. We met in England even further back in time. She's a lawyer by training, but was studying English. And I came to Brazil with Ernst & Young, who at that time were looking to sort of internationalize their office. And the English managing partner of SP São Paulo, he hired some English chartered accountants to come up and help make a kind of a cultural change as well as to work with the international clients. At that time, the office was very small. It's grown enormously. So I worked in audit and due diligence. After a while, I moved to an American client that made an acquisition here in Curitiba, where I'm speaking to you from today. And then I worked with a number of multinationals for over 20 years in Brazil. So I've worked with English and American multinationals. My last job was with an English marketing group. We had about 40 agencies in 5 countries throughout Latin America, 2,000 people, close to 200 people probably in finance throughout the region. And now I'm supporting this ACCA expansion in Brazil, and I'm enjoying that a lot. I've enjoyed teaching some classes, as my dad did before me, in tax. And it's very exciting to meet you, Bruna and Anna Carolina, because it's just such an exciting thing to do, to grow up in Brazil and get this amazing result, to go out to Ireland and get the highest marks in the country and on planet Earth. I mean, it's just phenomenal. So briefly, that's me. And I'm really interested to hear what you have to tell us about your experiences.
Thanks, Christopher. So just before we go on to ask Anna, Carolina and Bruna about their experience and how they got to be where they are, could you just talk about how you see the differences in the way the accounting profession is viewed in Brazil versus outside Brazil? And I'm just sharing some salary information from some research that you did as well.
Do you want me to speak?
Yes, please.
Okay. So here we have this is basically a salary graph plotting your expected salary progression in São Paulo, in Dublin, and in London as you grow throughout your career. So the really remarkable thing here is not so much that accountants get paid less in Brazil than they do in Dublin, and less in Dublin than they do in London. That would be somewhat expected, given that the cost of living is a little bit different. But the fact is they get paid a lot less in Brazil, and particularly they get paid a lot less at the beginning of their careers. So as a first-year audit trainee in Brazil, in São Paulo, you're probably looking at a salary of around 2,000 to 2,500 reais per month. Okay. In Dublin and in London, the number is almost the same, but it's in euros and in pounds, so it's worth something like 8 times as much. And in Dublin, it would probably be starting on 23 to 24,000 euros per year. In the UK, around 24 to 25,000 pounds a year. It's a little bit more expensive there. But that's, as I said, something like 7 or 8 times as much as somebody would be earning in Brazil, which is really amazing. And of course, that difference accumulates and you carry that with you throughout your career. So after 5 years, somebody in London would probably have earned over £1 million reais more in gross salary than somebody in São Paulo. And throughout your whole career, I'd say over a 40-year career, supposing you're never particularly successful and you don't make it past director, that cumulative difference would be around 21 million reais. You get to partner, assuming you're staying in the profession, UK profits per partner around £700,000 a year, which is an awful lot of money. But even outside of the profession, if you're working as a finance director, you would expect to progress to well beyond £130,000 a year. So the numbers in absolute terms are quite impressive, but beyond that as well, the multiple is very different. So in the UK or Ireland, there's kind of a flatter multiple. The people at the top end earn perhaps 4 times, 5 times, maybe 6 times what people at the bottom end are earning. But in Brazil, that is 10 or 14 or 15 times or more if you get up to the very highest levels. So it's a very different salary structure, with people not only learning less uniformly in Brazil, but much, much less at the beginning of their career. Also, they don't get their training paid for in Brazil, so it makes it practically impossible to pay for a training in Brazil. and it's tough to progress. So how do you perceive that from where you are in Ireland? Does that kind of accord with your expectations?
Maybe we can ask Anna Carolina first what you think. Just
Sorry,
that's okay. Just in terms of how, if you think this kind of accurately reflects the differences between Dublin anyway and Sao Paulo, as far as you know, and how you think that perhaps the perception of accounting and the value, the value differences. So people value the chartered accountancy much more in Ireland, or how did you find it in Sao Paulo, in Brazil? Not specifically Sao Paulo, but yeah. Oh, on mute, I think.
Anymore. Sorry for that. Just want to say thank you first, Susan and Christopher, for having us here. I think this is absolutely accurate. The difference we see in the profession in here and in Brazil is absurd. I was a lawyer back home, and I decided to come to Ireland in 2016, first just to improve my English and live abroad for a while. And I used to work for an American company in Brazil before I come here, and I was working with the accounting and finance team. We were trying to set up a fund of investment in US, so it was a very interesting subject. And then when I came here, I saw how much accounting was valued and how this profession would fulfill what I was looking for in a career, which is the ability of living abroad or pretty much everywhere, which law wouldn't give me. So I was attached to Brazil, and I could see how much an accountant here would be valuable for a company, would hold a lot of good positions as senior managers, or even high positions as a chief investment officers or chief executive officers. So I decided to change my career because of that. So I know it's true. You can see what we saw on this chart, what Christopher shows us, it's completely true. The initial salary for accountants in Brazil it's not comparable to what we see here in Ireland, for sure. And the companies in here, they will pay for your training, they will pay for your wages as well. So it's worth taking the risk of moving abroad. And I don't know, maybe this is valued in Brazil eventually would be better paid for the accountant as well.
Yeah, and we would think more broadly. We'd like to see Brazil progress, the whole economy of Brazil progress, and keep moving forward. And we think that with properly trained chartered accountants taking the lead in their organisations, that they will make some very good business decisions, which hopefully will have a benefit more widely for the whole of Brazilian society. So it's quite a big vision that we've got in terms of training, capacitating, developing the accounting profession within Brazil. Yeah. Bruna, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, like as Anna said, that is really something that for me was like made all difference, was exactly that employers, they are really like willing to invest on our studies here, like paying the course, paying the exams. And then by that difference, I can really see that, yes, it's really like different of Brazil, that sometimes we have like to struggle so much by ourselves to get there, to get a qualification, to get a degree or something. But here, like, what really made all difference was that they were willing to help us to get these qualifications in even like ACCA, CIMA. We can see here that they really are willing to help us, and it's like something that I can say that they made all difference between Brazil and Ireland for me.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Bruno. We see that all the time. So all of my training in the UK was paid for by my employers. And here in Brazil, we have most of our students are paying for their training themselves. And that makes it particularly difficult for students who are early on in their careers.
Yes, even like if we see about the salary, that's like not always we are able to pay for that, you know. Like I'm sure that there are many people in Brazil that they want to study for ACCA, for like they want to be there, but sometimes because of like money they are not able to do. And then like I can really say that it's for me it's something that really make me like feel that in Ireland we have this difference, you know.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And as well as that, is there's getting the time to study. So many of our students struggle with time, and their employers don't really understand what they're studying for and don't give them the time. So that's also a challenge. And just actually related to the accessibility of ACCA, we have just launched a new program called the SHP Accelerator Program, and we are trying to make the training accessible to professionals who are committed to the program by limiting the monthly fees to 15% of monthly income. So the idea of that is by limiting the fees, we can make them more accessible to professionals who are on a lower salary, because we know that once they become qualified and on their journey to becoming qualified, all those skills that they acquire is going to help them increase their earnings. And yes, you can be pretty confident that that is what's going to happen.
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Yes, I think so. I hope so. Okay, good. So I think tell us a little bit, maybe we can start this time with Bruna, about how your transition, how you moved to Ireland. What was it that got you, what did you do? How did you get a job there?
So it was like I can say something that I can really start to like saying that it's really I have been here for 3 years, but it's like if I when I think of that, it seems like it's 10 years because of many things happened during this time, you know. But I arrived here in Ireland. It was in 2018. I came to learn English. Like when I left Brazil, I couldn't speak at all. So one of the things that like made me to come, it was I always like dreamed to study abroad, and then like there was a rose an opportunity to come, and then I came. Like I knew that it would be a really big challenge for me because I couldn't like speak. I remember that at the beginning I needed so much help. I started in the elementary level, and even today I am still like not the best one, but yes, I'm here trying. And then like I got like so involved with English, and I was really like I made a plan to learn, you know, and it is what I'm doing until today. But it was like last year, or like in 2019, sorry, I met a career counseling who helped me to get this confidence to start to apply for jobs here, because I told her that I had accounting in Brazil. I in 2017 I finished my degree in Brazil, and then like when I told her that like I would like to keep studying here, that I wanted to do that here, she helped me to be confident to go to interviews to start my career here, you know. And then like it was like for my surprise, even in less than 3 months I was working already I work until today in the same company. It is like some traditional Irish company here. Like at the moment I am around 45 Irish people. And then like for me like when I think of everything that happened until I arrived here, I can say that it was really like a big change from what I have seen in Brazil and what I see today. And then like sometimes it can be challenging because like, for example, when I started doing ACCA, I have like my list that even like assets, I couldn't not know what was that, but I can see that I can by like the time I can like say that it was worth, you know.
Okay, Bruna, thank you. Yeah, we know exactly what it's like when you don't know the key technical terms in Portuguese, in fact. So when I first moved to Brazil, I had the same problem, except with Portuguese.
Wow, okay.
Good. And so how did you actually get your first job? So your career, yeah, you had an interview, and how did that go?
Yes, it was like when I started to apply, I was quite surprised that like I get a few interviews. And then like when I went there, I remember that I had that in the same week, I had like 2 interviews, and both of them like I was quite well, you know, but I still was like kind of wondering how they could like deal with the stamp that I had at that moment, that I had like the student visa. And then like I remember that what they were asking me was exactly what I did in Brazil, what I was like, where I could imagine myself in 5 years. Those are really typical, how can I say, typical question that we do in an interview. But something that they really wanted to know about me is what like where I wanted to be, you know, in the future. And then I told them that I was doing like I at that time I had applied for ACCA, and then I got 4 exemptions, and then I was going to start my way to through ACCA qualification. And then they told me like that they could help me with my exams, even like giving some study leaving to help like to go there, you know.
Okay, so maybe the key thing there then was that you had already enrolled in the program. You were already a student. That showed commitment to your professional development and is a qualification that they know. Okay.
Yes, like it was really something that like even like the career counseling, one thing that she told me that was really, as I was already studying accounting in Brazil, and now that I was like I got some exemptions from that, I could really tell them that what I want for myself is really being working in accounting, you know, and that would make all difference. And it really did, because they really like it was. I was on the bus coming back home, and they called me to say like, "Oh, we are happy to have you." But I was like, and for the other one, like I did in the same week, they called me as well. And but yes, I was like, no, now I have already a contract.
Oh, so you got 2 offers. Wow.
Yeah.
Refusing them. That's a good position to be in. Okay, great. Thank you, Bruna. Yeah. Okay, and I think, should we ask Anna Carolina as well? How did you transition to Ireland? How did you get your job in particular?
Right, so I completely different route from Bruna. I came with 0 experience in accounting. I didn't know what was assets even in Portuguese, because I was completely different background. Just what I had was what I had from my colleagues from finance. So it's different from when you're like proper studying accounting. Then I decided to do a postgrad in accounting, a transition course. So I had to learn everything in 9 months, and it's a lot to cope up with. But I focused a lot on my studies. I always focused in my studies during my life. As Susan, I'm always doing something as well. You were telling about your story, and I was thinking, yeah, me too. Like a graduation, postgrad. And then I decided to be like, I'm gonna be first class honors. That this was my focus during college, the 9 months. Then I got an interview while I was already still in college to a trainee contract where I work at the moment in Baker Tilly, and then they hired me and to start the next year. So when I was still in college, I already had the contract to start in the following year. And when I finished college, they asked me to start a little bit earlier in June instead of September, and I'm here since then. Was difficult because it's difficult to transition from a different profession to another one. So it's even to put your right mindset in place. But when I finished college, I had the 9 exemptions from ACCA, which was great because it gave me this this weapon. You know, I just need 4 more and I'll be qualified. So I had to do the 4 professional exams. And my first goal was I need to take this first professional exam, and aim the highest I can. So this is what I did so far. Now I just have 1 more exam to do, and I'll be done in June, hopefully. But ACCA was always a weapon that I had with me. I'm going to be the best as I can in each exam, so I can show them that I have the professional skills, that I have the ability, that I know how to deal in business, and I could see this improving and building up in each exam I was taking. So I can imagine even for people that took more exams than I did, because I got the 9 exemptions, I'd say Bruna that had just 4 exemptions, she would have even more better training sometimes in the professional area, because the exams, they do that for you, for sure. But this was my transition, was completely different from Bruna. But I did just one interview as well, and I got this job, and I'm here since then. Yeah.
Thanks, Carolina. So in some ways, you have similarities are the ACCA qualification that helped you both get your jobs. But yeah, it's very interesting because we have people who want to change their careers. So it's always good to hear from someone who has managed to move. And like you said, it's not easy to transition from one career to another. But I can, you mentioned, I think it was actually before we started recording, but about how useful accountancy will be for you because it will enable you to move between different countries. Whereas continuing as a lawyer, you would just be restricted to working in Brazil. So I think that was, an interesting point about why you changed careers. Yeah. And
I
just,
think sorry. No, just I want to mention, because I remember that even like still in Brazil, one of the things that made me to choose accounting was exactly because of this flexibility of being able to work, doesn't matter where I was going to work as an accountant, And it was, I remember someone telling me that doesn't matter where you are or like when, if you really are willing to study accounting, there will be an opportunity. And then I can really say that's really true.
Yeah, it's an international profession, isn't it?
Yes.
Which is why we should see more consistency in the salaries, I think, ideally. Okay, good. And something like the Chartered Accountancy qualification is a stamp to say you have reached this standard and you deserve this salary. And actually, we do see that the salaries for Chartered Accountants are quite consistent, especially in more mature markets. Good. So Anna Carolina, how, you mentioned you got your job with Baker Tilly. Did they approach you at university, or how did you connect with them?
No, I applied in September. There's the milk rounds for the Big 4 and top 10s. So I applied for all of the top 10 firms in Dublin, and they had this huge approach in colleges, but I did the normal way, just sending my CV and filling the forms online, and I got the interview like this. Yeah.
Okay, and then followed through.
Interviews did you get? Was it like just Baker Tilly, or out of the 10, if you applied to 10, what was the feedback overall market?
I applied to 10 and I got 1 interview and I got 1 job.
The others made a big mistake, yeah?
Really?
Thank you for that. I think, I don't know, but I don't know if, because I'm a mature student, so it's difficult sometimes when they see someone, I'm over 30s, and then applying for a trainee position. I know there's a barrier, especially in the big four companies in relation to this. So I'd say this maybe was, I don't know, I can say, I just imagine it could be one of the barriers for sure. Thankfully,
Can I just mention at this point how the two of you did in your exams? Because I'm dying to tell everybody. So, Bruna, you came first in the tax exam in Ireland. Yeah. Do you know how many people took that tax exam at the same time as you in Ireland?
So in taxation in December, there was 266 people sitting the exam in Ireland.
That's right. So you came first out of 266 people in Ireland. And it's a difficult paper. I teach that paper, and I would not like to have to sit it myself for real. Okay. I think it's amazing. 266 people. Anna Carolina, do you know how many people took the audit and assurance exam when you took it worldwide?
over 10,000, I think, something like that.
10,366, and you got the highest mark. So real sort of Venus Mafia here. It's just incredible that you two, and you don't even know each other, you're connected out there. But so two Brazilians from Minas go to Ireland and kind of decide to do accountancy when they get there and score the highest marks in Ireland and even in the world. It's just phenomenal. So that's why I say the other 9 firms made a big mistake when they didn't process your application correctly, Anna Carolina.
Maybe now they're going to change their minds.
Maybe now it's
thinking,
yeah.
now I have a stamp on my CV.
You're famous.
Yeah, a little bit.
We're both famous. We're both famous.
I wasn't expecting it, but I know this is a very good for both of us. I was so happy to hear about Bruna as well, because I feel like we're getting there. We are taking over. So you better watch it. I'm joking, but it's very reassuring that we have reached this marks, and I think it's important for people. They will value our work as well.
I think
Go ahead, Susan.
I was just going to bring us around to talking about some tips that you might have for other students, but I don't know if that will tie in with what Christopher's about to say. So
I was going to say, okay, I'll go first. I was going to say, it's all remarkable because it's like one thing happens, it's kind of a fluke, as we say, it's kind of chance. But if it happens again, then it's not really a fluke. And so when we have 2 Brazilians in, I think it was the same sitting, I think it was both in the December sittings, yeah?
Yes.
So in one sitting, right? So there are a limited number of papers, and in the same sitting, the high scores in Ireland both went to Brazilians, and of course the highest score in the world as well. So that, I think you've done everybody else in Brazil who's thinking about accountancy or studying accountancy a tremendous favor, because you'd have to look at Brazilians and say, oh yeah, Brazilians are coming top in the exams here. It's perhaps not what people would expect, but as you say, it's the reality now. So I just think that's fantastic, and you've done everybody a really major service. So on behalf of everybody, thank you.
We were very proud.
Thank you.
It makes us quite emotional here. Really. Because we're working with Brazilian students all the time. Students find the exams hard, and then when we see you guys winning these prizes, it's just so inspirational. Really, don't underestimate it.
Oh, thank you.
It is inspirational and emotional. I like the word emotional. And why is it emotional? I find it emotional. I've been in Brazil for 26 years or something more. And you see Brazil kind of going sideways. It just does not develop. Bang, 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 it's not going anywhere, okay? You look at GDP per capita, you look at BRICS, look at Ireland. Ireland's done fantastically well. Now, Ireland wasn't very different to Brazil over a generation ago, perhaps, but a generation ago. Now it's $70,000 per capita. It's left the UK behind in the dust, okay? It's left the United States behind with GDP per capita. It's doing really, really well. And if they are bright enough to bring in really bright people and make them welcome and put them to work in the economy, that's going to be the result. But I think that's really great. And a little bit about what we were saying earlier when you talk about the accounting profession in Brazil, and it's not particularly respected. And a lot of the CFOs are not accountants, but they're engineers and economists and other people, which would be unheard of in the UK. It's laughable in the UK to think of putting somebody who's not a chartered accountant or qualified with one of the other bodies in a role as CFO, because they just do not understand accountancy. But okay, in Brazil, you don't have the opportunity really to show how good you can be. And so I find it really emotional, actually, when you take people from Brazil and you give them the chance to compete and they just beat everybody else. And it's something that I've actually come to expect from Brazil over the decades that I've been here. People are capable of doing the most amazing things, and there are an awful lot of Brazilians. So I think that as you are kind of pioneering this route with accountancy into Ireland or Europe, perhaps, I think that will inspire other people. Other people will follow, and other people will do very well as well, because that's what we have seen time and time again. So that's the emotional part.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We should get the Brazilian national anthem now going.
I'm emotional now.
We need that.
Santa. Yeah. I didn't cry when I heard about my results, but now I felt like crying and feel like, okay, I'm emotional right now.
Good. It is emotional. It is. And I am hoping people are watching this thinking, wow, I can do this too. Because you can. And if you can tell us, actually, Anna, Carolina and Bruna now, what your tips are for students, because you do have to study hard. I think people are not always they are definitely not used to studying as hard as they have to study for the ACCA exams in general in Brazil. Apart from people who do the concurso público, who I have noticed make very good students, but they are the exception. Most students struggle a lot with these exams. So can you share your tips and to help others? And maybe some general comments about the difference between how you study in Brazil and how you have to study for these exams would be really useful, because I've had feedback from students saying, oh, I need some advice on how to adapt to these exams because they're so different from the way I studied before.
So in this case, as I did the CRC in Brazil, and then like I can be like an accountant in Brazil as well. So yeah, so what I can say that was the difference between studying in Brazil and studying in Ireland is that just like when I was doing my degree, and when I was studying for accounting in Brazil, I remember that when I went to the one exam that we needed to do to be an accountant in Brazil, I did the study for that. It was enough for me just having like the 4 years studying in Brazil. That was enough to be an accountant in Brazil. And then like what made the difference, what really makes the difference here is because like for being fully qualified, it's like there are the 13 exams that we needed to do. And then like what I usually do, I make a plan, and I get attached to that. What sometimes I see that people start doing, they plan, but sometimes they get lost to that, you know. And in my case, I really try to be really disciplined with myself. Like, for example, something that usually I create some table. It is what I did like the same with taxation, and even like the other exams that I did, I created a table that I can write down what past exams I will do. because I remember that like the first tip that I really got that was like so valuable for me about the ACCA exams is doing the part exams, and then it's really the one that I think all ACCA students will agree that is the key to passing the ACCA exams. But sometimes I see that, but I do the past exams, but how, which one? And then like what I really try to do is I make a plan, because exactly to not get lost between like, we have like many papers. And then like, for example, for taxation, I started from 2019 and I did all exams. It was basically like from the 2014 to 2019, all exams doing. And then something that it is something that we struggle so much in ACCA is because of the time. That's really like something that's, it's there exactly to make you feel that emotion, you know. But something that I really try to do is like, I put my timer there, and then I know that I have like 30 minutes to do a question, then I will have 30 minutes to do a question. And even some, like, I at least try to do twice each part exam that I'm doing, exactly to make sure that I'm able to do. If I was sitting the exam, I will be able to do in 3 hours, you know, like it is kind of like the way that I'm doing. I did like, it was my third exam, and it's the way that I believe that's like something that's helping me so much. That's like part exams plan. I have like a target. I don't know, for example, for taxation, I had to do at least 5 a day during like the 2 weeks before my exam. And then the time, that's really practicing doing the time, like really that the person is able to do during that time that they have. I think it's my tips, basically.
Thanks, Bruna. That is an excellent tip. So practicing, usually people say the best way of preparing for something is doing it. So if you're doing practice exams under exam conditions before the real exam, that is the best way of being prepared for the real exam. And the real exam becomes just like another practice, right? And you're already comfortable with it. You already can manage the time, and it's obviously working. It's worked for you, hasn't it? So perfect. Good to hear. Keep up the hard work and the focus. Okay, and Anna Carolina, what do you recommend?
First thing, find a learning provider. For me, was crucial. Like my teacher, I stick with the same learning provider for the 3 professional exams, and I think that is crucial for the professional exams, at least, which was what I did. My teacher was so organized. He would tell me what exams to take, what exercise to do. And second thing is do as many past questions as you can. So for audit, the last one, I did most of all questions since 2010 until 2019. So practice these to improvement. I don't know perfection, but improvement at least. Everyone is trainable. So a new language, a sport, a new profession. So if you're doing something from scratch, and if you put 20 hours to that, you're gonna be better than you were for sure. I think this was proved already by science. But anyways, find a learning provider, stick to your teacher's plan, and do the past exam questions as your life depend on that. And third thing Bruna said, it's true. I used to do past paper exams, but I always took 15 minutes from my time. So on the day of the exam, I had 15 minutes more. So I used to do mock exams in 3 hours at home. Or if you're doing SBL, which is 4 hours, I was doing it in 3 hours, 45 minutes. So in the day of the exam, if you have a nervous breakdown, or if you need to go to the toilet, or if you are very nervous and you don't know something and need extra time to check something, you have 15 minutes more. So I think it's like a football player. you train, and you train it again, you can do it. Pele, Neymar, much better than Maradona. And that guy from Barcelona. No, I'm joking. Messi is good as well. Okay.
Good, Anna Carolina, you make it sound so easy. Thank you.
It's not. It's not. Like all
Yes.
people around me, they say you study too much, but you have to put the effort. I know what is my goal in the future. I know I'll have the benefits of it. So I want to do the exam just once. So that's the thing. That's why I try so hard.
Yeah.
The key is like, we don't want to do that again. We tried everything that you can no way to do again.
Exactly.
Yeah, so true. So much better to get past the first time, isn't it? And then you don't have to do it all again. And you can put on your CV first time passes. And we encourage our students to do that. It's one of our main objectives, first time passes. Okay, great, thank you. Any observations, Christopher, or before we move on?
Yeah, just to recap, Bruna, you said you did all the tax exams from 2014 to 19, so that's a 6-year period. I think the exams are every quarter, so 4 times a year. So that would mean that you did 24 past papers. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 24 past papers, 3 hours of paper under time pressure. That is a lot of papers. And Anna Carolina, you did 2010 to 2019. So that's 10 years. So that's 40 past papers. It's quite intimidating.
Not all under time and exam conditions. So I had a book and I was just marking the questions I did. So I wasn't doing like the full exam most of the time. Most of the time I was doing spare questions, and sometimes even reading the solutions is good because it's not the same examiner. Now I'm doing advanced taxation, and I think the examiner is the same since 2012. And I think they changed the examiners for SBR and SBL recently, 2018 or something like this. So eventually, there isn't before that, but for audit, I think they're there for a long time as well. So sometimes I wasn't not even doing them, but I was going to work in the bus, so I was reading the question.
So you were
Not all of
familiar.
them.
And were you both studying every day, or did you accumulate studies on certain days?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Never. I accumulate. No way.
No way.
It's something.
Impossible.
Yes, I am sure that Anna knows that. That's like, it's something that really cannot happen, you know. Because since we accumulate, if we start to accumulate the studies, somehow like it will be a mess. And I know that because I have my target, you know.
How many hours would you say that you study per day, per week?
Not many. 1-2 hours a day. So sometimes I was too tired. I would use my lunch time to study 1 hour. And after work, if I was too tired, I would read a question, read the articles, you know, because there's a lot of articles for audit. There's 50 articles. I had to read 50 articles. So even reading some standards, I wasn't studying like overnight, 6 hours per night, or even just leaving everything for the weekend. No, even Saturday, sometimes I was studying just 3 hours, 4 hours.
Study fast. And then my last point is that the exam question practice is really important. I remember doing my exams, and I understood the content, but I just had problems doing it fast enough. And then I went to sort of a training school where I just trained exams for 9 hours a day. And there was no content, it was just exam technique. I had to do an exam, mark somebody else's exam, correct my own exams. It was exhausting, but after I did that, I never failed any more exams. And the last point on time management, so important. I have my father's exam paper downstairs in the cellar here from about 1958. And you can see he sat down, and the first thing he did, obviously, and the only marks on the paper, he wrote the hour and the minute at which he would start each question. So he timed out the questions, put it down on his paper. And that's 70 years ago now, and it's still valid today. So practicing under exam conditions, practicing exam questions, sticking to time. Very impressive.
Keep it classy, keep it gold. It's time, and that's it. You finish the time, move on the question. That's what I did from SBR to now. You finish your time, you move. Next question, next question.
Be disciplined, spread your effort out across the exam. Did what study material did you use as well as doing practice exams? Did you read material? Anna Caroline, you read the articles on the ACCA website.
All of them.
I love
books.
them.
PP books. So you read the material and then you did all the practice exams, or did you read a bit of material, do some practice exams, go back to material? How did you manage the material itself, the text and the content versus practice questions?
For me, it was usually watching classes, reading material, questions. Watching classes, reading material, questions. Always the same.
Yeah. And then after you had worked all the way through the material, you started doing practice exams.
Just practice exam, just mock exams, and now the CBE platform. For the last 2 weeks, I was just doing that, practicing over there.
And how about you, Bruna?
Yeah, like I quite like I do the same that she does. That's when we have a class. Usually, like I summarize that what I have. Like if I have in my book, like in my book, I don't know, 3 pages. I will try to summarize the subject of that day, and then like always doing that before the next class, and trying to do as well like what the teacher told us to do, like with homework he did, or like sometimes they leave some questions for us in the like there is like some type of like some they make like one way that we can do we are doing some MCQs, and then like always doing that before, and when I start my revision, then like I can kind of like take everything together, and then I start to do the past exams. That's like I think it's like makes it easier when we know already everything somehow to practice that, then just going like starting out today we started, I don't know, audit, and then I will start now to do some past exam. I don't think that's works so much. I think it's like easier if you will know already like the structure, and then you can start to do the past exams and doing like with the time. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the way we structure our courses, so we have a learning phase and then a revision phase, and we ask students to read the material before each class, and then we go through practice questions on the material in class. So we don't actually teach the material, we teach or talk about how to apply it through practice questions. And then the homework is to do more practice questions on those topics. And we always say, do them under exam conditions, even at the beginning. So do them under timed conditions right from the beginning so that people start to get used to doing that. And then we say, stop, mark what you've done already, and then you can complete your answer if you didn't have time, but at least you know how long the time should be for that question, and it's kind of good training. And then once you finish the learning, once you read through all the content, then you do the practice exams. So we're quite consistent actually with what you guys are recommending, which is good to know. Amazing if we can get some prize winners in Brazil too. So let's we have people who want
I'm sure that it will happen.
Hopefully.
Yes, I mean here just finger crossed that's like soon we will have someone there.
I think we will. Yeah. And looking at the footballing legends, I think there's a lot of potential, as we've been talking about. So okay, good. All right. So the last topic area that I just wanted to cover is future career plans. So what are you hoping to do going forward over the next few years, and maybe ultimately in your career? And maybe we can start this time with Anna Carolina.
So first, I have one goal: finish the ACCA exams. And after that, the sky's the limit. I mean, hopefully I'll improve in my experience as well, because I just have I don't even have 2 years of experience yet, so I need the 3 years experience for the qualification. So I'll be focused on working and maybe getting better positions, assistant manager, CFO eventually. So I have big dreams for sure, because it's hard to get here, and I know we can get even further with our careers. So there's no limits. Personally, I'm currently in practice. I think it's a good way of learning in practice and maybe moving to industry in the future. I'm still training in a very broad area. I'm working in insolvency, restructuring, and advisory, so hands-on everything. But I don't work with audit. I never worked with audit, actually, which is funny enough. But I really want to have some experience in audit. I feel like it's something that I have an aptitude to work towards. So maybe in the future, who knows? Not too sure yet. First thing, finish advanced taxation exam in June, which I'm going to ask some tips for Bruna. I'm asking already.
And now I'm doing audit in insurance in June, so I can ask her, you know.
We can help each other for sure.
Yes.
And do you think you'll stay in Ireland or maybe move somewhere else, or who knows?
For the moment, staying in Ireland, I think there's huge opportunities here. As Christopher was saying, it's an economy, it's growing a lot. There's a lot of important companies in here, a lot of technology and finance companies in here. So I can see a lot of opportunity in here. But in the future, as I have this possibility to move abroad, who knows? Maybe
It's nice to have options, isn't it?
for sure. Definitely.
Yeah. Good. Okay, thanks, Anna Caroline. And Bruna, how about you?
So yeah, like as you said, that's really good to having many opportunities, you know, to choose. But like at the moment, yes, my plan is finished ACCA, but still I have a way to go through. Like I hopefully like next year, like by June, I will be fully qualified. But as we know, but like, yes, fingers crossed that everything will be okay. But like for my plan, like having the ACCA, I don't think that I will stop there. Something that I really want is like the CFA. That's like where I really want to have my career as doing like analysis, you know, and then. But at first ACCA, and after we'll think of that. But like I'm not sure like if I will really stay in Ireland. But even if I don't stay, something that I really what make me like so happy about ACCA was that how big it is, you know, and how it is like everywhere. And I really like, I hope that everywhere there are people like you that's really, that they want to make that bigger in the country, you know, like for example, even in Brazil, if I come back to Brazil, I want like to arrive and say, I have a CCA, and it's like, oh, really CCA? And it's like, it's something that's, but yeah, something, my next step is trying the CFA.
Okay, great. Yeah, so not very many people have both qualifications, but I do, and I think it's great because I mean it really makes you an excellent professional as a chartered accountant. But the CFA as well, it's more specific to investment analysis, as you said about analysis, and the financial markets, which are quite complex. So it kind of gives you that additional knowledge about, you know, certain, let's not say niche things, but it will enable you to have a technical discussion about derivatives, for example, or
yes.
about fixed income, other alternative investments.
It's my dream. Like I'm really, what I'm like, my dream is really being able, you know, to give like my the opinion, because I think something that I really I have about accounting, it's that for me, it's amazing how everything works together, you know? And I'm really like, I think one of the things that made for me the difference that for me, accounting is really amazing. It's like everything so connected, you know? So the numbers can tell us things, you know, not even like just such numbers, just like, okay, just profit, you know, everything together gives us information. Like, for example, we have then, for example, the salaries graph that we can, when we compare numbers, you know, we can see like they tell us something, and I would like to be able really to say what they are telling us.
They tell a
This is why I
story,
want-
don't they?
Yes.
And actually, another interesting field that you could look into is business valuation, or generally valuation, because there you are telling a story, and it's a real craft. It's a skill valuation that requires lots of other skills, including law. So law, a bit of accounting, finance, common sense, report writing skills. It kind of brings in bits of everything. And you know, it's an interesting area because it's very judgmental. You have to come to a professional judgment about your opinion of the worth or the value of something. I feel we could go on discussing these technical topics at great length.
Right. Yes.
But I think we should end the interview for the moment. I will include some resources underneath the video when we put it onto the YouTube channel for people who want to find out more about ACCA, more about CFA, more about business valuation, more about international careers, or people who want to contact us to talk more. Thank you so much, Anna, Carolina, and Bruna, for joining us this afternoon. It's been really, really interesting talking to you. And congratulations again on being ACCA prize winners. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Guys. Yeah.
I have to say I'm grateful like for being here with you like, as well. Thank you so much. It was really something that for me was like when you invited was like, my God, the only problem was like last week there was the exam, but like I hope that everything was well, you know. But yes, it was really great for being here with you. Like even like know a little bit more about Anna, about her background as well. Like thank you very much and congratulations again, Anna. Really, when I saw like as you said, when we saw like a Brazilian person